Good morning and welcome. It is always such a pleasure to be at these 40-minute forums, but I must say that this one is particularly special, not only because we have a wonderful speaker, but because it is my last one here with you. And, now almost 5 years ago when we started these, it was as a result of an experience I had in New York City when I was there for my wee Sabbath leave and saw an event occurring in between liturgies. And I have to tell you, ours is way down. Anyway, let me carry on with introducing our speaker this morning. He has been called a radical, a hippie, a social disturber. But those who have looked at the arc of Paul Thompson's 4-decade-long career, he is respectfully called Sir. His accomplishments in the field of drama are without rival in this country. Over 200 productions, many of them telling uniquely Canadian stories, have revealed a stunningly imaginative range of interests and styles. His work has been responsible for his being charged and taken before a judge, but it has also gained for him the Order of Canada and the Governor-General's Performing Arts Award for lifetime artistic achievement. His Anglican alma mater in London, Ontario, awarded him their very first Huron University College Medal of Distinction. He is currently working on a play about the Toronto and Stratford director of the 1960s, John Hirsch, and it is on the schedule for Stratford's opening on June 20th. With all his theatre experience behind him, Paul is going to share with us some recent thoughts about the nature of the medium in which he works. And so, on your behalf, I welcome among us a great Canadian, Paul Thompson.
That's the first time I've hugged a camera. Another first. Thank you, Cheryl. Those were lovely words. It seems like it might be another person, or another two people. So I'm very, very happy to be here today, and I'm delighted to get back in touch with David Applegard. We were at Huron together, and it was a very formative time for both of us. So when he approached me about this event, first I was a bit overwhelmed by the people you've hit already, and that's a huge company to be associated with. But I had an idea. It sort of came last year, about this very same time. I was invited to Ottawa and was part of the ceremonies for Lifetime Achievement Award. And as part of that, it's an interesting event. We were only allowed to speak once in the whole 3-day period. All the rest of the time, people just talk about you or about other people. And so you're given 250 words in Rideau Hall when they give you this amazing medal. And in the most extraordinary, illustrious company you could possibly imagine, and amongst the most fantastic art that we have in the country. If you want to see the art that reflects this country, go on a visit to Rideau Hall. I believe they do have public visits. And the art just speaks of who we are as a country in an exceptional way. So, what am I going to do with my 250 words? And it becomes clear that either they made a mistake in getting me there, or there's something strange going on So my words are that the only reason that I could possibly be there is because I broke every rule in the book and half the rules in the country. No, truthfully. And here are all these upright citizens of the country, everybody happy and celebrating this. And I was subverting all this. and yeah, so I talked about that. And then afterwards, the Chief Justice of the country, who happened to be there, Beverly McLaughlin, came up and said, could you tell me about breaking the rules of the country, please? And it was in a sense, it was a light bulb moment. I said, I'm here because I broke the rules. I guess in order to merit being here, I have to keep on breaking rules. And that brought me to a point of, but this is the Chief Justice of the country cheering me on. No, seriously, this is very interesting. And so, light bulb, there's some kind of symbiotic relationship going on here. Some kind of need within the society where you have your fomenters and your legislators. So this is the title that I've cobbled or stolen from Shelly, that you, when I first came to Toronto, I found that there was two Torontos. The one, Toronto south of Bloor, which is where we were and trying to stir things up. And then the ones north of Bloor who occasionally were trying to arrest us or what might even come and see our shows if they took the wrong turn or something like that. But what it became clear to me is that it's a much more complicated and fascinating relationship. And that, you know, subsequent to the talking with the Chief Justice there, it became clear to me that the real legislation is still going on with you, the good people north of Bloor. But somehow or other, there are these seismic moments where a change happens, and in my case, through performance, through theater, and all of a sudden, this society, which looked like it was going along and was kind of the peaceable kingdom, the good people, have absorbed this into their new world. And so I thought I'd give you a couple instances of this seismic change that Toronto has gone through over the 40 years that I've been living south of Bloor. In 1974, Toronto invented sex. Before that, it didn't exist. There was Immaculate Conception. There was, you know, things we didn't talk about. And then all of a sudden, and there's lots of you in this room who will remember when that happened. Yonge Street opened up. There were body rub parlors all over the place. There were strip clubs with comics. There was city television, who was just starting at this point and couldn't get more than 7% of the viewership. And then all of a sudden, on Friday night, they put something called Blue Movies on, and they got 70% of the viewers. So, as good theater people, you know, we've done Play About the Farm Show, about farmers. We've been trying to do something about the city. I even tried to play about immigrants. It didn't work, except when we put it on a streetcar. So we thought, this is a Toronto experience. We will capture this. So we put a play on called I Love You Baby Blue. It was a huge, huge hit. It ran for 12 weeks. At this point, we've been kicked out of our theater in Trinity Square for the Eaton Center. And so we were homeless, and we had to find a church, it turned out. Bathurst Street United Church, you know, it's United, not an Anglican church. And they were renting their major space out because their congregation had, you know, moved north. and they only had a small core still in the inner city. And we put the show on, 600 people a night, for 12 weeks. Now, somewhere along there, the morality squad got involved, and we were arrested for creating an immoral stage production. It lasted, well, in the end, they decided to just reduce the charges to me. Lucky me. And a year and a half later, it was put into court, and it didn't last half a day before the judge kicked it out. What was interesting in the whole move around that was kind of support. The good burgers north of Bloor had come to see the show. In fact, counselors, church counselors, who were counseling couples with sexual marriage problems would send them to see the play before they'd start discussing. Heads of the arts councils decided to come up and stand up for this immoral, radical play. And obviously, and the kicker, what I think is very interesting, the lawyer, who was just a young articling lawyer at the time, took on the case pro bono. He says, I'll work for past Mariah wages. He went on to become a major lawyer in the criminal law system, and then he became a judge. And he's now one of the most respected judges in the system. So, what I see in there is somehow something that starts as a kind of amazing seismic moment, if you like. I mean, the audience was electric. The theme was electric. And people had to engage on that. Now, what happened within society was, in a way, it got absorbed. And everything went back to a kind of normal. But the new normal had a few other things in it, you know. Not quite kinky, but, you know, when I go home now, back to my rural roots, when you go to a funeral, you get to see, you know, they have a list survived by. And each of them now has survived by such and special friend such and such. Or grandson so-and-so and special friend such and such. Now, when I grew up, those people were living in sin. Now, there's a kind of social acceptance. And it seems to me that this is part of the seismic shift that happened, which got laid out in public, dramatized, if you like, by the theater, and then sort of absorbed by society on top of that, or afterwards. So this tectonic shift doesn't just happen once, it happens a series of times. So, in that sense, you are the unacknowledged legislators of our time. Now, in the original with Percy Bysshe Shelley, he called it the unacknowledged legislators of the world, but I guess I didn't get my Google out in time. And I came up with our times, and I think actually it's an interesting thing because it does reflect time and how time sort of connects in and moves our social DNA around a bit. Now, I'm trying to figure out where, I have a map here.